Lately I've been Lately I've been consuming a lot of stories and spending a ridiculous amount of time trolling the internet, and I thought that I would share some of my favorite stories and storytelling things with you today. My current favorites, I should add. They change quite often, but you know, I thought I would just share the ones I'm liking right now. First thing that I'm really enjoying is podcasts, like fiction podcasts as an art form. It's a really interesting way of storytelling, and it's kind of unappreciated. When people think of podcasts, you usually think of, like the sciencey podcasts or like the ones that talk about like culture or whatever. But fiction podcasts, specifically like fantasy podcasts or sci-fi podcasts, because I love sci-fi, are really, really good. Some of my favorites have been Starship Iris, which is so good. It's only like 8 episodes, I think, but it's really, really good, and it kind of ends on like a cliffhanger, but there will be more someday, hopefully, please. The Penumbra podcast, which is really good genre fusion. Juno Steel is my absolute favorite. I love most of their stuff. I haven't listened to the horror ones because I'm not a horror person, but their sci-fi and their fantasy is very good. Wolf 359 it's very light. It's sitcom-y. It's fun. I like listening to it in the mornings or before bed. And then Night Vale, of course. It's a classic. Good for like driving or like listening to in the mornings, because when you start off with that sort of weirdness, the rest of your day is bound to be fantastic. Another thing I want to talk about is like accounts, I guess, like social media accounts that are doing this storytelling thing really well. Obviously everything will be linked in the description. The first is Elsewhere University, which is a Tumblr account. It's basically like this university in that's built on a fairy hill, and all of like the stories and stuff are like submitted by people. Like, it's based on a webcomic, but the community has submitted everything else, and it's really cool. It's like a good way of telling a story with collaboratively, and it's really nice. This one doesn't really fit the whole theme I'm having here, but Thomas Sanders does such a good job with Sanders Sides. Everyone should watch. It's just really well done, and it's really pure and good, and yeah, like, would recommend. Always makes me very happy to watch, unless it's making me cry, because it can get really emotional, but they're just really well done. Well, I mean, I guess this kind of counts. I'm currently editing my NaNoWriMo novel. NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month. It's in November, but they have like camp events in April and July, I think. And it's basically where you write a novel in a month, and it's fantastic and it's crazy, and it's an event. So I would definitely recommend checking that out if you haven't. Last account is Normal Horoscopes. I know what you're thinking. Horoscopes, Claire, really? These horoscopes, they're not quite normal. They're a bit different, and they're always bizarre, and they always like tell some sort of like story, or they inspire you to tell the story behind the horoscope, and that's pretty cool. I use them as writing prompts a lot. They're fantastic writing prompts. The next category is activities or things that I'm doing to like creatively or storytelling or whatever. The first one is bullet journaling. It's a really good creative outlet. I really enjoy bullet journaling, and I've been switching up my spreads a lot lately, making them different, exciting. It's very fun, and I love the flexibility and freedom of it. If I need to page to like brainstorm a project or whatever, I can have it. It's really nice. The next thing is the paint chip challenge, which is where you go to the store, you get some paint chips, and then you choose a paint chip, and based on either the color or the name on the paint chip, usually the name on the paint chip, but if it's something really boring, then the color, you write a story or draw a picture. I really like the picture, the visual version, because you can draw it right on the paint chip and it looks really cool. And yeah. Next thing, well, I'm not super into this right now, I did this a lot last month, is blackout poetry, which is where you tear a page from an old book, and what I like to do is I like to highlight the words I want, because that way if I mess up like really badly, there's still a little bit of hope. And then you just cross out every word you don't want, and there you have it from a page of written text, something new. And it's a very good challenge to see what you can make out of something that's already written. Fourth thing is stop motion animation. It's contest season, which is why I'm making this sit down video instead of like something cool. But yeah, it's contest season, so I've been using stop motion animation a lot, more than I thought I would. The last thing I want to talk about are genres, like my current favorite genres. The first is, as always, space opera / space western, with a tendency towards space pirates, because space pirates, I love space pirates. It's just such a good genre. But one thing that I saw a post online about, like, you know, sea shanties, but in space. I really want to try that. I don't know how to write a sea shanty, but I think that's such a good idea. Just like, I don't know, tell the story of a space pirate ship through space shanty. So I might do that. You might see me do that soon, or you should do it if you want to, because it's such a cool concept, right? Like, And the next genre is when, like, you're in a normal world and something fantasy happens but nobody questions it. Like, for example, there's a street, nobody goes down that street, because if you go down that street you don't come out. You hear howling from the street. Every night at exactly 11:30 p.m. everyone who goes in to investigate, they don't come out again. Well, one person did, but they didn't come out again sane or alive, but you know, like stuff like that. Or like, oh, by the way, there's Barry on my doorstep. I really like that genre. It's a good genre. Okay, so that's all for this video. I think I'm gonna leave you with a quote, and it's, stories create people, create stories. What a lovely sentiment. So I'll see you next time. Bye! If you would like to see more of me, not usually my face, but you know my face, you can subscribe to this channel, or you can follow me on my Instagram, which is at @. P.S. If you have any like recommendations for stories you've listened to or watched or read that are good, or any sort of like thing that you think I'd like, please leave them in the comments. Yeah. Have a nice day.